It's my pleasure and my honor to introduce my latest addiction, Trainspotter. Thank you very much.
Throughout history, humans have been a species that cultivates and collects. We've collected our knowledge into books and our books into libraries. We collect objects like rare guitars and experiences like countries we visited. In the classic case of train spotting, which was a cult hobby long before it was a cult film, we have even collected trains that we have seen go by with such fierce determination that some of us have even climbed things just to catch a better view of that next train. We keep our collections near and dear to our hearts. We track what we've done, what we've seen, what we've had, and we're always aware of the items that we still have to check off before we've reached completion. And yet what's really interesting is that the fun is really in that journey, the act of collecting, that obsession with seeking that next thing. Much more so than the fun is in completion. If you have a collection of baseball cards and you have all the baseball cards in the world, you can't collect anymore and the game is over. So today we're going to show you an app that's inspired by that journey. It's an app for the train spotters of the modern world, the seekers and collectors. So without further ado, I'll introduce the team.
I'm Phil Sophia, and I enjoy taking photographs of the inscriptions and plaques on the landmark buildings in Lower Manhattan.
My name is Jason Lang, and I love collecting comic books.
And I'm Maggie Baker, and I like to collect vinyl records. And we're Team Trainspotter.
Today we want to show you an application, our application Trainspotter. And to start it off, I want to show you my collection of comic book covers. I'm a big comic book fan. So as you can see on the page, I've taken some of my favorite comic book covers in the past year. And I even like putting quotes from my favorite comic book creators, such as Mark Waid from Daredevil. But, you know, it's probably boring for you to look at my collection of stuff. And you probably wonder, man, I would love to make my own collection. So Maggie is going to demonstrate for you today how that's going to work. So Maggie, what kind of collection are you going to make today?
I think I'll make a collection of things I've seen at Dev Boot Camp.
Very original. Let's go with that. Every collection requires a title, and we have an optional description. You don't have to have a description, but it'd be nice if you want to start off your collection with a nice description. And once you're past that, you have an option of starting off with your first sighting. Now, sometimes you want to start a collection and just have a name there and put something in there later. But for now, we're going to start off with our first sighting, I presume. So Maggie, you want to make a sighting?
Yeah, I'm going to take a sighting of something I've seen at DVC today.
Awesome. And this is going to be uploading and going to the Amazon S3 server, which will have three different file types for that particular image: thumbnails, medium images, and large images. Making it easy for whatever display you're on. And is it up there? Yes, it is. It's beautiful. But, you know, it's kind of lonely, right? Sometimes you want to share this collection with somebody else, and sometimes you want somebody else to maybe add your collection, right? So can I ask somebody to just post a collection? Phil?
Please.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I love audience participation. This is awesome.
Wow.
All right, what do I do? Wait, what's the website?
It's a trainspoterapp.herokuapp.com.
All right, okay.
And if you go straight to browse or click on Trainspotter, you'll see the most recent collections, which would be Maggie's.
All right, menu browse scenes at DVC?
Yes. And keep in mind that Phil will not be able to see his collection if Maggie decides to mark it as, let's say, private.
What do I add a sighting?
Absolutely, yes, add a setting, whatever you want, sir.
Add a photo?
Yeah, why not?
What should I do? Who should I take a picture? How about I take a picture of Steve?
I really wouldn't.
Stephen does. Great.
Oh, and I can put in a description?
Yes, absolutely, which is optional.
Oh, cool. Now what do? I pitch it to Maggie?
Yes.
That's it?
That's it. It's that
Oh, that's
simple.
cool. That's great.
Now,
Did she actually get it?
well, that's the thing, sir. It doesn't pop up immediately because Maggie has to approve your image. And as you can see, there's an option for approve or deny for this particular image.
Prove it.
Maggie, do you want to approve this image? Is it relevant to the collection?
It's relevant. It's at Dev Boot Camp. I like it. I'm going to prove it.
Okay, great. Awesome. And also wanted to point out that Maggie has
Did someone
as you see, folks, we have a celebrity in the midst. I also wanted to show you one more thing, which is if you click on Maggie's name, you'll see you have access to all those galleries, all the countries you've made on your profile, getting all the security options, even able to change the name of the username. You don't want to be stuck to whatever Google gives you or what Twitter gives you. So without further ado, I want to pass it over to Phil, who will explain the technology behind this application.
And I'm so honored to be in the presence of Zach Galifianakis, one of my favorite comedians. So this app is primarily built on Ruby on Rails. And because we envisioned it as a mobile-first app, we went with Foundation for our front-end solution, which gives the dynamic mobile interface. As well, also for the login authorization through Google, Facebook, and Twitter, we implemented Auth0, which is a OAuth third-party service. For the media uploading and storage, as Jason mentioned briefly, we implemented Amazon S3 services with Paperclip. And for the full text search functionality on the homepage, we implemented the PG Search plugin for the Postgres database, which gives us full search capabilities. For the user alerts, we implemented something called Suite Alert on the front end. And with that, I'll hand it over to Jason, and he's going to discuss some of the challenges we encountered while building this app.
First off, the biggest challenge we came across is that we started off with a very large scope. We wanted to do like video and MP3s and be like rock stars and filmmakers. But we realized quickly that it's important to get the small things down first. And in this case, we decided to focus on just getting photos and getting that done right. Now, are videos possible? Absolutely. MP3s are also possible. They'll definitely upload straight to Amazon S3. However, we also had to reconsider how the framework of how we may have to install players for the particular video or the MP3. We also had to consider the file sizes as well. But this is all completely doable and something we can definitely work on post this development.
So we thought a lot about what we wanted the app to be, but we also put a lot of thought into what we didn't want it to be. We wanted to differentiate ourselves from apps like Instagram and Pinterest in that we didn't want it to be a social network. We didn't want to have a news feed. We wanted the focus to not really be on the photos as much as the collections themselves. We really wanted curators to truly own their collections and take pride over them. So we talked a lot about privacy and permissions and what that would look like across the site. The solution that we came up with was the approval mechanism that you saw displayed here, where someone can actually pitch a photo and the curator really has the end say in what fits into their collection. And in doing this, we learned a lot about changing the state of objects in our app and then making sure that the entire app would respond to that, both securely on the back end and visually on the front end.
So today we introduced you to an app called Trainspotter, a place for communal collecting. And you might think it's just a simple collection app, but it's not that simple. We wanted something you can share around the world, an idea that people can pitch their own observation or sightings to you that could transform your collection into something else entirely if you so desire. So all I have to leave you is the following. Spot it.
Save it.
Share it.
Trainspotter. Thank you. And any questions you have?
I don't know, it's Phil where he's been hiding his inner performer.
I've been undercover.
Have you thought about what's going to happen? So I have to admit, I've been playing with this app all week, like all across Manhattan, and like I don't know how old the database is right now, but I've probably got several collections in here. Have you thought about what happens if this like starts to scale in terms of a single collection growing really large, like hundreds of sightings, and how you might react to that, and maybe like categorize it or do other things to help scale really large collections?
I think that subcategories could be something that could be really interesting to give collections a lot more depth. Jason, what do you think about that as far as file size?
I mean, Paperclip definitely handles the file sizes pretty well in general. Amazon S3 is pretty flexible. One thing we considered actually, and Phil actually talked about this, was that we would even have a differentiation between the silly collections and the more like serious avant-garde collections, so to speak, right? And we even investigate tags that help keep that organization down too.
What I was also thinking about also was to implement some sort of like Google Suggest live search where let's say you're typing in the search box and you're trying to look for something specific, maybe to add to a collection. You've got a whole bunch of collections, it becomes very difficult to find what you're looking for. So that search would have to become much more dynamic to find the categories you're looking for, the things you're looking for, to be able to add to those collections. Instead of it just becoming this massive, collection of collections that can't be really moved through easily.
Did you happen to find any trouble with like working with? So you're using the browser, right, and using the camera on the phone, and I know that there's a lot of like image exit data that gets added to the image to indicate like rotation and like portrait versus landscape. Did you have any trouble with like, say you take something landscape and then when it gets uploaded, how to like deal with that? Was there like a library you wanted to use or anything?
Well, that's very interesting, and Paperclip is really good at creating thumbnails of landscape and portrait pictures. Medium pictures pretty good as well. If you actually go to a full scale image on the site, it'll actually put it down to the original. It doesn't account for that. So Paperclip actually does a good job orienting, but the original image, not so great. But that's definitely something we can look into, absolutely.
Is it only the curator who ultimately has the ability to like delete a photo from their collection? Like I post a photo to Maggie's, and then like the next day I'm like, I don't actually really hate that photo. Can I put it online or for whatever reason? Should I, as the photographer, go in and actually take it out, or is it only the curator who can do that?
Yes, you can. That functionality is live on the app right now. I could go on my phone right now and delete the photo that I just took, even though it's on Maggie's collection.
Relating to search capabilities, like are there tags like beyond just the title of the collection that allows you to, I guess, focus in on what you're searching for?
We decided not to do that as a design decision. Like I said, we didn't really want to do the hashtag thing. I think that hashtags can get kind of messy with categories. And so we really wanted this to be carefully curated, thoughtful collections that people would take pride in. So as Sam was pointing out, on a larger scale, maybe some kind of sub way of categorizing would be interesting. But as far as tagging, not now.
What's that?
Yeah.
Wilson.
Okay. Yeah, speaking of, let's say somebody takes a picture and you're looking for a collection, you're like, hey, there's a picture of me. I'm not a big Is there the potential for, do you guys have anything in mind for like a report function or something to be like, I don't know.
Wilson, I have to add, Stephen Cassidy has said those exact words to me several times.
We were toying with the flag is inappropriate, but within the 8-day scope of making this app, we just simply couldn't get to it. But that would be something we would definitely implement, because when more people than who's in this room discover this app, my guess is some people will start to post things that other people are not going to want to see. So that we'd have to implement some sort of filtering. I'd have to even look into that, to be honest with you. But yeah, that would definitely be needed at some point.
Right. Thanks, everyone. Big round of applause for Trainspotter.